I want to welcome everyone back to Success Secrets. This is session 5 out of 6, and I have with me today Jesi Conder, and Jesi's going to be talking about the importance of skill stacking, and I can't wait to hear more about this. Sometimes you can raise your hand if you've ever felt like you're starting over from scratch, and Jesi's really going to talk to us about how we're not starting over. We're kind of starting from a different level. I'll tell you a little bit about Jesi and why I'm so excited to have her as a speaker. She's been around for more than 18 years. She has built successful businesses, developed leaders, mentored thousands of entrepreneurs. She's led organizations at the very top of compensation plans. She was with a startup and was instrumental in the success of that company. She even founded her own direct selling company and today is building a thriving business with a new company, Neora, and leading a successful real estate team. I don't know how you do it all. All along the way, she's a military wife of more than 21 years, a proud mom of 4, and she really exemplifies what it takes to build a business and have some staying power, which is the key. So I'm so glad to have you here on Success Secrets. Did I miss anything in that intro that you want the audience to know about you?
I don't think so. Thank you,
Okay.
Michelle.
Okay, great. Well, I'm really thrilled to have you here. Can't wait for your insights because you've had such a successful journey with ups and downs like we all have. And I think that's the piece of success that people often miss is they think that people who are successful are just boom, successful. And, that's just the way it is. So, all right, I know you got a couple of points to share with us. So, why don't you take it away?
Okay, perfect. Well, today we're going to be talking about skill stacking, like Michelle said. And Michelle and I were talking on the phone a few weeks ago about what I was going to talk about. And I didn't really have it like streamlined down to a topic yet. We just talked in general kind of about our experiences and our shared experiences. And then I actually saw my upline, who is AJ Yates, post on her social media page just a few days ago and called it skill stacking. And I was like, yes, that is really the name for the concept that Michelle and I had been talking about when it comes to sales success. So today we're going to talk about why you're really not starting over when things happen in life and in business that are challenging. You're actually building something stronger and kind of what that looks like in real life. I had someone tell me one time, everything you touch turns to gold. And that could not be further from the truth, right? But that, like Michelle said, sometimes that's our perception of success is that we see people who are successful and think, wow, everything they do is successful. But really, they're stacking on those failures and the skills that they're gaining along the way. So I want to start with that question. How many of you have ever felt like you had to start completely over from scratch, from zero? I know that I have many times. Maybe your company changes or your compensation plan changes or a business closes. Sometimes it's life and it's not business. It's a divorce. It's a family issue. It's something with your children. It's a move because you are military or otherwise. Maybe it's a health challenge or a death in the family. A big one for me that I deal with on a regular basis is shifts in the market, and that affects both my real estate business and my social selling business. And as we know, the market of social selling has been changing dramatically in the past decade. And so I think the other one that we sometimes overlook is burnout. Like burnout is a big starting over from scratch feeling and kind of moment, even though maybe you're not really starting over at all. But when you have to kind of mentally pick yourself up off the floor and start over, it definitely feels like that. So, what I've learned in that process is that the people who build lasting success in sales are not the people who are avoiding failure or even who see failure as an end or a stopping point, because true, long lasting success embraces change and failure and sees it as a temporary reset and really as an opportunity for you to rebalance what you really want success to look like in your life, because I think that's so different for all of us. Um, I think one of the biggest things that we are going to talk about today is kind of a big lie that we believe as entrepreneurs. And that is that we believe that success looks like this steady upward trajectory, right? It just looks like we're on an escalator to the top of the mountain. And I don't know how many of you have experienced that in your social selling business, or maybe your memory is telling you that you experienced that. That's how I feel because, like Michelle said, I was with a startup company, and it is now easy for me to look back at that time. I was there from 2012 to 2020 and think that it was that escalator to the top of the mountain. But it really wasn't. Like, my mind has just blocked out the trials and tribulations that kind of came with being a part of a startup, right? And so our minds sometimes protect us by focusing on those good times. And we look back at our success and think, man, I just did it so easily that time. It was just straight up the escalator to success. And sometimes it was, right? In that company, my team was constantly growing and we were breaking records, and my team was getting bigger. My check was getting bigger. However, there was a lot of tough times along the way, right? There was internal drama, and there was poor leadership, and there was products being sold out, and there was shipping nightmares, and there was a whole month where our back office was completely black and we could not access anything for over 30 days, right? Like, so in my mind, I've told myself the story that, like, oh, that was amazing, look how great it was. But sometimes we have to stop sugarcoating it for ourselves and look at how hard it was too. um, I think in order to really rebuild from past success, we have to stop telling ourselves that that was the best it can ever be, or that you can never achieve that level of success again, because that is a lie. And I have seen people get stuck in that. And it bothers me. Like, it hurts my heart when I see friends, people that I know and love and care about, who I see make comments about how, like, those were the good old days and it will never be that good again, because it's just not true. Like, you can rebuild something bigger and better. The reality of sales, as we know, really is you build something and you lose something and you succeed and you fail and you pivot and you learn and you rebuild and you rinse and repeat through that cycle over and over and over again. And along the way, we're slowly making progress up that escalator of success. The problem is not rebuilding. The problem is believing that rebuilding something better than what you had before is impossible. And that is the biggest mindset shift that you have to overcome in the gap between when you're starting your next chapter and you're getting to that next success level. There is a gap, there is a delay. And getting to the top of that mountain again is the hard part, right? There's a delay in that gap. And most people are not willing to work through the delay and wait through that gap long enough to get to the next mountaintop. And that's what I don't want to see for you guys. So I just want to remind you that you may have lost something, but you haven't lost your experience or your skills. The other day, I was working in my real estate business, and day to day, my days look like a lot of habit stacking and disciplined follow up, time blocking, social media skills, Canva, web building, leading, teaching and mentoring salespeople who work on my team. And I just stopped and thought, like, where else other than direct selling would I have picked up this range of skills that now I get to bring into my other job, right? So many jobs teach us to stay in one lane, and social selling teaches us to harness 10 different lanes to achieve our goals in sales. And jobs don't do that. So it is without a doubt the best teacher that I've ever had in 20 years of sales has been in direct selling. And I just think we need to embrace that. It may look different than your last social selling business. It may take you into a new career, a new direction, or maybe social selling just looks different in your life now than it did last time. And that's all okay. I think we just have to kind of embrace it.
Love that. I love your comment about burnout. And sometimes, excuse me, Now I'm going to lose my voice. The burnout factor is huge. And we really do that to ourselves by trying to be all things to all people, to be perfect, to, you know, answer every message. And one of the things that work with leaders on is the let it sit rule. You can't just constantly be moving because you do get burned out. You can get burned out in sales too. But in leadership, there's so many things pulling at you that you have to kind of guard your own internal reserves. And I see more people quit because they're burned out than they are unsuccessful. I have seen people walk away from thriving businesses because they're just burned out. They don't have it in them anymore.
Yes.
That's a huge point.
And
And
like
then
Michelle said, it's not just in direct selling, right? I have friends that I see in real estate who I'm like, oh, they're burnt out. You can see it coming when you've been there yourself. But social selling does teach us how to manage it so well, especially as you grow in leadership. When you have a really, really big team and they're in every time zone, you learn how to have boundaries and how to manage your time and manage those expectations because you just can't be available to everyone 24 hours a day.
I do think that social selling also really teaches us how to discipline our disappointments. And in a regular 9 to 5, you don't get that. If you lose a job or you get a bad review or whatever, there's not this positive turnaround piece of it of what did I learn and what do I need to do differently. I think there's so much growth in this industry that you just don't have the get benefit of in other places.
Definitely. It teaches us to be resilient for sure. And I feel like that's kind of the theme of my direct selling journey. I started in 2008 with Tastefully Simple, which is an amazing company to start with because they have incredible principles and such a good foundation on like how to do sales right and how to treat people well and how to have this mindset of abundance. And those were things that I didn't learn in high school. I didn't learn in college. And so I really like cut my teeth in direct selling and sales learning those things. And then in 2012, like I said, I joined a new little baby brand, and that's where I built a really big organization. And I was a national trainer and speaker and got to travel the world. And it really was the best of times. But when you look at it without those rose-colored glasses on, it was also really difficult. It was not easy to be a part of a startup brand, but I've really learned a lot there. And I took that with me when I moved on. I moved on before there were really massive changes at that brand, but there's always changes at every brand. So somehow, some way along the journey, that led me to starting my own social selling brand. And I spoke on stages at DSU. Our logo was up on a screen next to Mary Kay. And in moments like that, truly felt unreal. We were open for just shy of 2 years. We did over $1.5 million in sales in that time period. We had over 1,200 ambassadors, created our own products, and created really an amazing culture and community. But ultimately, even though that was really, really cool, that company closed. And it wasn't because we didn't have the vision for it or we didn't work hard enough. It was simply because we didn't have the capital that we needed to keep it going. And direct selling is expensive. It's an expensive business to start, to run, to launch, and to maintain. And even though closing our brand, which was called Align, was very painful, I can say, as someone who had to look my brand ambassadors in the face and say, we can't keep doing this, it is a position that no business owner and no founder wants to be in. And I think there's a lot of chatter online that kind of villainizes direct selling in general, but especially owners. And I can tell you that from my view, like truly behind the curtain, dealing with those other owners, they are truly some of the best humans with the biggest hearts who really want nothing more than to see their field succeed. But it is a tough business and everyone has to make hard choices. So after Align closed, that was a big failure for me. I'm an Enneagram 3. I'm an overachiever, and I felt like I failed flat on my face in front of my whole world. And people would tell me and still tell me, like, it didn't fail. Like, you did it. Like, you opened it. You did it. It was successful. It did this. It did that. But to me, like, closing was failure. But what I had to realize at the end of that season was the business had closed, but I didn't have that option. I didn't get to close up shop on my life. I still had a family to provide for. I have a new story to write, right? That was a chapter, and the book is still being written. And I don't have the option of just opting out of it, even though that business closed. So I spent a few years rebuilding. And in that time, I used all of those skills from direct selling to rebuild my life. And then ultimately decided to choose to partner with a brand in the field once again, which was a big decision. So while we're talking about that, I want us to kind of reframe your mindset about skill stacking, because every season truly is giving you something, right? You can lose your company, you can lose a title, you can lose income. I lost $100,000 in income one year. It was not a fun season, right? You can lose a team. I have lost all of that. But what you don't lose along the way is your leadership skills, your communication, your experience in sales, your marketing knowledge, the ability to problem solve, your bigger vision for your life. You don't have to lose that just because you lose some of those other things along the way. I think that we gain things like emotional intelligence in direct sales. You work with every single type of person that exists, right? We're not interviewing, people are just joining, and we learn how to work with them. Recruiting skills, relationship building, all of those things become the foundation. So you're not starting over, you're really starting from experience. And that can be whether you're starting with a new brand or you are just having to restart your business because you haven't been doing as much as you want to, right? We find ourselves in that position over and over and over again in sales, where we have to wake up every single day and decide that we're restarting today. Like nobody is clocking us in and out like a 9 to 5. We have to get up every day and decide that we're going to restart. So my question for you in that is, what do you want your life to feel like? And how can direct selling help you get there? Because when life changes, I think that we need to stop asking, how quickly can I get it back? Because honestly, like speed doesn't usually last. Instead, I would encourage you to ask yourself, what do I actually want my life to look like? What kind of schedule do I want to have? What kind of stress am I willing to carry? Because maybe you think you want a really big team that makes a lot of money, but like, do you want everything that comes along with a really big team that makes you a lot of money? There's a lot of stress and responsibility that comes along with that too. What kind of income do you actually need? Because I see friends who at one point made X, and in their mind, because they're not making that again, they're failing. But it's like, life changes. Do you still need to make that? Like, sure, it was great to make that, but like, do you need to make that right this second? Or do you have some bandwidth and some time to rebuild to get there? What kind of leader do you want to become, or do you want to be? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want to build? I think that sometimes the next opportunity to restart and rebuild is not always about making more money. Sometimes it's about choosing alignment over the next big shiny opportunity that comes up. So every opportunity is not your opportunity. It can still be a great opportunity, but it could be for you or it could not be for you. And so I think the best thing to focus on is, how does that business, whether you're looking for a new opportunity or you're in a business right now, does this opportunity align with my values, my family, the season that I'm in, and the vision that I'm building for my life? And that's why I chose, after rebuilding for 2 years, I intentionally chose to partner with Neora, not because it was shiny or new, it's 15 years old, not because it was a ground floor opportunity, but because it aligned with what I wanted my life to look like. I have literally built a brand from scratch, and I don't want to do that again right now. I intentionally chose a brand that is really stable, an upline that has already built amazing systems and trainings and weekly rhythms. I've done all of that before. And I don't have the energy right now with an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and 2 15-year-olds to do it again. Like, I really wanted somewhere that I could just plug and play, because to me, that's like part of the beauty of direct selling. And it's just so funny, because when I first got into direct selling, I had been doing like a baby boutique business. So I'm sure, like many of you, I'm a serial entrepreneur. And in this little baby business, I made the products myself. And after a year or two, like I never wanted to see my sewing machine again. Like I wanted to poke my eye out with a sewing needle. I hated mailing things. I still do. If you ever deal with me, just know that I hate mailing things. And so when I stumbled across direct selling, I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is like the fun part. Like, I get to talk to people and share products that I love and like talk to them and like tell people how cool it is that you can earn some money from doing this. But I don't have to do all the hard parts, right? I don't have to mail things. I don't have to create things. I don't have to make the product. And then somewhere along the way, 15 years in, I found myself in that position where I was doing all the hard parts. And guess what? It's hard. So when choosing to rebuild or to start over, I didn't want to do those parts again. And I chose New York because it aligned with what I want to build long term. So sometimes maturity in our direct sales journey means choosing stability over shiny excitement. And that feels different. And it means leaning into building more slow and steady than building as fast as possible, because I have done both. And building slow and steady is what built me a very sustainable income and business that always maintained. And building really, really fast built something that didn't really have a very solid foundation, and it kind of fell apart. So that's just kind of how that journey has looked like for me. The last thing that I want to touch on is the slight edge philosophy. And this actually comes from Jeff Olson, who is the founder of Neora. And I just want to make sure I give credit to that. But he wrote a book, and it actually comes when you join. And I kind of blew it off. Like, I was like, oh, whatever. Like, a lot of founders have written books, and sometimes it's just kind of their personal story. That is not this. This is a personal development book. It is exceptionally good. It talks about how there is no standing still in the journey to success. Sometimes we feel like we're treading water and we're just maintaining, but we're really not. We're either very slowly moving up the success curve, or we're very slowly moving down the failure curve. And what determines that is our daily choices, the tiny little decisions that we repeat over and over again. So instead of chasing, the newest shiny thing, I would just encourage you to start chasing the slight edge, those little tiny decisions, having daily conversations, doing your daily personal development, doing daily follow-up, showing up to lead every single day, being consistent every single day. Because I think that momentum that's built in that practice is a lot more sustainable than the things that are built really quickly and flashy. The strongest businesses are not necessarily the ones that appear to be really fun and flashy, but they are strong and they're there for a reason. And you can be that type of business in direct selling. So just remember that whatever speed you're building at is the perfect speed for you. It's coming in perfect timing for you. It may look different. It may take longer. It may not be as exciting as you remember something else being, but I truly believe that it's exactly what you need right now. And so we get to make that decision. What are you stacking? Are you stacking skills? Are you stacking character? Are you stacking wins, those little wins along the way, or having conversations with people? You're exposing them to the brand or the product or the opportunity. Or are you stacking distraction, procrastination, avoiding, working your business day to day? Something is compounding. And so it is up to you what you want to compound in your business. Do you want it to be those skills that you're stacking that you can use today and tomorrow and 10 years from now? Or are you stacking, some laziness and procrastination and distraction, which we're all guilty of. But your story, even if it includes big, massive success and big, massive failure, is not a tragedy. It doesn't have to be broken. Like, you're building something. And I truly believe that setbacks and closed doors and disappointments, businesses that you've been a part of that have been successful, or businesses that you've been a part of that haven't been successful, are all a part of something that you're adding to that skill stack for your success. So instead of always thinking, how do I start over? What do I do? Just like, how do I build from what I've already learned? Failure doesn't have to be the end. It's truly just another chapter that you're writing in that story. And the strongest entrepreneurs, which you are in direct selling, are not people who never fail. Like everyone who is successful has failed, and they just keep stacking on top of those failures forward. Because if we're not failing, we're really not even trying, in my opinion. Because, if it's too easy, like you're really not giving it your all and putting that effort out there. So that's it. Yeah, you're not starting from zero. Every season in your sales journey is adding to your sales resume. It's okay to choose alignment over shiny excitement. And I just encourage you guys to build for decades and not for months, because we get very caught up in a month by month business opportunity in direct sales. We start over at zero every single month. But in reality, true successful businesses and long lasting sales success takes time. And so if you can change your mindset from like, what can I do this month? How quickly can I do it? To what do I want my life to look like 10 years from now? And I'm going to figure out what small, little, boring daily actions I can lean into and just do them long enough and stick with it long enough. Then you can really build something that will survive that test of time. And yeah, that's exciting to me. Like, I look forward to direct selling being a true successful stream of income that helps support my life 10 years from now, not just this month. So think long term and remember that there is no perfect opportunity, but you can build success by using those skills that you've already built along the way, making consistent choices every single day to execute upon them. Like, knowledge means nothing unless you're actually doing something with it, and becoming the person who can not just build something, but can actually maintain it.
I love that. There's a lot packed in there, and I love when you said to choose a company that you have that aligns with you. People ask me all the time, like, where's the best place to go? And there's a fallacy in our industry that a new company, a startup, means exponential success and wealth. It can, and it can't. 90% of them don't live to see their first birthday. So,
Right,
you're taking a chance on a company that everything's got to go right. And
right.
a more mature company, they've worked out the bugs and the kinks, and there is stability. My first serious direct sales company, selling company, was probably 10 years old or so when I started, and I was there for 15 years. I earned cars and trips and made a great income. And so it doesn't have to be that startup. Startups
Yeah,
are for not for the faint of heart. It is a
yeah,
roller coaster. I specialize in them for some reason. I get
yeah,
the thrill of it. But I love that. And then resiliency is so important. Failing doesn't mean that it's over. It means you learned something. That chapter's closed for you. And sometimes God just shuts the door because there's nothing else left for you to learn and to be better and to be more and to have greater skills to stack. You've got to go learn that somewhere else. And sometimes we really miss that message. And then if you're not failing, you really are just not trying hard enough at the end of the day, just as you said. So we're gonna pause for a little Q&A, but first, you have a giveaway that you wanted to share,
yes. So
right?
I am going to do a little giveaway of our SPF. It's called Invisiblock. It really is amazing. This is a sleeper product. I did not join for this product because, like, who joins for like SPF? You can buy SPF at Walmart, but
Hot
it
section.
is amazing. And I feel like it aligns exactly with what we're talking about today, because it's not flashy, but this is the perfect example of that little small daily choice, right? Because we know we should be using SPF every single day, and it makes such a difference in our skin 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. But we're not going to see some big, amazing result tomorrow from using SPF, right? And so I just love that because I feel like it aligns with what we were talking about. But I will have a link. I can throw it in the chat, and I know
You just
Michelle's going
did.
to. Okay, perfect. Michelle's going to email it out and stuff too. You're actually going to do an IntelliSkin scan. So it's an AI powered skin scan that's going to tell you the condition of your skin, recommend products, give you kind of an overall view of the health of your skin. And when you do that, you're automatically entered to win our Invisiblock as well.
Okay, great. We'll pause for just a few seconds for questions and then be back for wrap up. Jesse, thank you so much for being here today. I've got a lot of post-it notes that I took. There's so much good stuff packed in here. I'm sure everyone's going to want to go back through and rewatch it. We'll get the recording up and I'll co-locate that with your drawing link that you have. Thank you again so much. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, thank you for having me. I feel like direct selling is a big world, but a small world. And so, like stay connected to people and just build good, positive relationships with people because they always come back around, right? Like Michelle and I worked together over a decade together, but we've stayed in touch. And I just feel like we can all show up for each other because it's not easy day to day. So we can be each other's biggest cheerleaders no matter what we're doing or where we're at. And long term, that just pays off for all of us.
And that's really what this series is about me and my contacts and people like you, women like you, that are willing to share, just to share, to help someone else out who's in the industry, who may be younger or maybe at a low place, a low point, and needed some of the messages that you shared today. All right, we'll be back next week for the final session, and I hope to see you guys then. All right, bye everybody.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you so much.